Hello there guys, Ed here, bringing you part 3 of What If Deku Had the Archer class card. Before we continue with the story, I would like to say a few things. 1. Yes, as many of you assumed or are in Alex's Discord server, already know that he decided to leave YouTube as a whole. 2. I won't be continuing Full Counter or Recover Girl's grandson due to the fact that they were originally scripted by Alex, even if you can call it that, because I ended up finishing them when he couldn't, and yeah. And before he asked down in the comments, no, I don't know where or what he had in mind to do with them in the first place, or even if they had a destination to begin with, or just for the shits and giggles. 3. Although I may be a busy person, being a pizza man and all that, I'll try my best to keep up with 2 or 3 videos per month, and if I can, I will do more. Now, without any further ado, let's get into it. Where we last left off, Izuku woke up only to find himself in a hospital room. Izuku, not recalling the events of that night, barely able to speak, he would ask about Ayumi's whereabouts. But the doctor walked in, telling Izuku to calm down. Once Izuku was calm enough, the doctor spoke up. The doctor would say, "Mr. Mato, I'm sorry to inform you that the girl that you're referring to was already dead when the Pro Hero found you. In a matter of facts, you were the only one that survived, although barely. We tried to get in contact with her parents, but..." Izuku, recalling the events that transpired that night, with a face that showed no emotions, in a monotone voice, he would say, "I see. Her parents lived in London, and their number should be on my phone." The doctor would say, "Alright, give me the number and we will deliver the news." As interrupted by Izuku with his monotone voice, he would say, "No, I'll do it. You've done enough. So could you give me some privacy?" The doctor would say, "Sure. If you need anything, just press that button." Izuku, before the doctor left, he would say, "Doctor, one more thing." The doctor would turn to him in confusion, asking, "Sure, what is it?" Izuku, he would say, "Who was this so-called pro hero?" The doctor would answer, saying, "Oh, he's waiting outside. It's the pro hero Eraserhead. He would like to ask you some questions regarding that night." Izuku, with the same emotionless face, he would say, "You can tell him to leave. I have no interest to speak with him." The doctor, a bit confused, he would say, You do realize that he was the one that found you and brought you here. If it weren't for him, you would have died." Ochako, holding some bags, she enters the hospital room without Izuku realizing it. Izuku, glaring at the doctor, he would say, "He should have left me there to die alongside my girlfriend." Ochako, dropping the bags, she would say, "Izuku! How could you say something like that?" Izuku, surprised but not showing any emotions, he would say, "When did you get here?" Ochako would answer, "I've been here since yesterday morning. Answer me!" While she's tearing up, "How could you say something like that?" The doctor left the room so they could speak privately. Izuku looked down, not saying a word, while tearing up. Ochako, with tears in her eyes, and sitting by his bedside, she would say, "You loved her that much, didn't you?" Izuku nodded, as more tears fell from his eyes. Ochako simply hugged Izuku, while he cried his heart out too. And she too did the same. It has been nearly hours as they remembered the good old days, similarly when Seiji died. But this time, Izuku couldn't stop his tears, because he blamed himself. for her death. Soon after, the door opened to reveal the doctor and the pro-hero Eraserhead. Izuku glanced at the door and he stopped crying. His eyes were focused on the pro-hero. The more Izuku stared at him, the more rage he had towards him. Izuku drying his eyes, and with venom in his voice, he would say, "Doctor, I thought I told you that I had no interest in speaking with that pathetic hero wannabe. So if you don't mind, escort the trash out from here." Ochako slapping Izuku, she would say, "Izu, that's not the way to talk to a pro-hero," as she apologized to the pro-hero. Izuku, "Does it look like I care? It's his fault that she's dead." While getting angry, "Therefore, I want him out from here, or else." Ochako slapping Izuku once again, "Izuku!" As she turns to the pro-hero, she would say, "I'm sorry, he's a bit emotional right now." Eraserhead commenting, he would say, "I can tell. I only have one question and I'll leave." Izuku sighing, trying to calm down, he would say, "What do you want?" Eraserhead questioning Izuku, he would say, "I'd like to know what went on, seeing that there were 4 dead bodies and 1 barely alive, not to mention a big mess. I need to know what happened." Izuku glaring at the pro-hero, he would say, "And why would I tell you?" Eraserhead would say, "You are the only witness, and I need you to tell me what happened." Izuku snapping at the pro-hero, he would say, "You need me? We needed you! She needed you!" Izuku got up from the bed, walking towards the hero, ignoring his pain and Ochako's efforts to try to stop him. He got very close to the point that Izuku grabbed the hero's scarf and brought him to eye level. Izuku glaring daggers and with venom in his voice, "I don't care if I have to live the rest of my life in Tartarus prison. I won't tell you goddamn shit. Because you should have been there and done your job. But you weren't. So I suggest you to leave now before I do the honors myself." Ochako slapping Izuku, "Izuku, that's enough. You can't talk to a pro-hero like that." Izuku, turning to her, he would say, "I talk to whoever I want, however I want, whenever I want. Especially a worthless wannabe hero that can't do his own job." Ochako separated the two while scolding Izuku some more. The doctor escorted the Eraserhead outside. And not too long after, Ochako left the room as well, because Izuku had to call Ayumi's family. Ochako frantically apologized to Eraserhead for Izuku's behavior, and she repeated on how emotional he was, but Eraserhead understood, and let his behavior and his words slide. Back with Izuku. Izuku was looking at his phone, with Mrs. Tosaka's phone number. While his thumb was hovering on the dial option, it had nearly been 10 minutes, with him just staring at the screen. Izuku took a deep breath and tapped the dial button. The phone rings and someone picks up. "Hello?" Izuku would question, "Hello, Mrs. Tosaka?" The voice would say, "Hey Izuku, it's you. What happened to you? Did you miss the flight or something? We've been waiting until late last night at the airport." Izuku, a bit confused, he'd ask, "Mrs. Tosaka?" The voice would say, "No, silly, it's me, Kaori. Mom forgot her phone, so tell me, what happened? Did you two lovebirds finally tie the knot? And where's Ayumi? She hasn't answered any of my texts." Izuku contemplating, they would have, and we were looking forward to that day to come, but it would never come. Kaori confused. "Oh, wait, what is that supposed to mean? Did something happen between you and my sister?" Did you guys break up or something? Izuku, a bit hesitant, he would say, no, we didn't break up. Anyways, do you watch Japanese news? Kaori, sighing in relief, oh, from the way he sounded, it kind of made me think that something happened with your relationship. In any case, yeah, from time to time, I watch it on my phone to see how things are going there in Japan. As she's a bit confused, she would say, but why are you me asking this? Izuku, hesitant, he would say, Kaori, could you check the news for me while on the phone? Kaori, even more confused, she would say, Izuku, you are worrying me. What happened? Izuku tears up. Please, just check the news. Being on the phone, it drains me. And I don't know how to break the news to someone, so please, just look at the news. Kaori from the other line, she got her phone and checked the news from the web. Kaori with a stuttering voice and sobs in between, I'll call you back. Izuku can hear Kaori's tears from over the phone, for Kaori forgot to end the call. Izuku ended the call on his end so that Kaori could moan the loss of her sister in private. A few days later, Ayumi's family visited and Izuku told them what happened. And Izuku also told them about the Archer card, with Kaori saying it was most likely a Magus assassin that were after the card. And it resulted in Ayumi's death. Time skip to a few months ahead, towards the end of summer break. During this time skip, Izuku was a shut-in. He couldn't sleep. Ochako was over more frequently to help out Izuku, but he refused to see her. Ochako decided to leave him be, so he could have some time to moan for Ayumi's death. And by doing so, Izuku became more distant towards her. Because since it was the work of a Magus assassin, things could get very dangerous for a novice like Ochako. So he pushed away to keep her safe. Needless to say that Eraserhead has been visiting, trying to get Izuku to talk, but the Mato staff kindly asked him to leave. Last weekend before school, Ochako visited as usual, but she had enough of Izuku's attitude, not answering his phone, texts, etc. She decided to barge into his room and forcibly make him come out from there. But once she opened the door, the fragrance of the room made her eyes tear up, and the darkness just made her mind go to a scene of a horror movie. Ochako, disgusted, ew, it smells like an animal died in here, and has been rotting for months. As she gets a bit impatient, Izuku, I'm coming in. Ochako turned on the lights, only to see his room was trashed, and that there was trash on the floor, empty bottles of medicine, and Izuku sitting near a wall as he stared into the void, as if he was insane. Ochako closed the door as quick as she could, as she was trying to process what she just saw. But one of the maids startled Ochako as she felt like a child with her hand in a cookie jar. The maid, known as Yuki, would say, Miss Uraraka, it's good to see you. Ochako frantically told Yuki what she saw. She blabbered and didn't make much sense. Yuki would say, oh, during the time you haven't visited, things have been going worse for Master Izuku. He's been drinking only water, so we called a doctor to prescribe him some antidepressants, sleeping pills, and then we also got him some stuff to keep him occupied, but he ended up trashing the room. So we stick to medications, and with excuse of medication, he started to eat again. Ochako, weirded out, she would say, "That is so wrong on so many levels." Yuki would contemplate saying, "Either that or spellbooks." Ochako, confused about the statement, she would say, "Spellbooks?" Yuki, confirming what she just said, "You heard me correctly. Spellbooks. Like voodoo, black magic, and all that." Ochako, even more confused, she would say, "He's a magus. Why would he need all those stuff?" Yuki would explain, "Simple, really. He just wants to bring Miss Tosaka back," claiming that he was reading a book about something like that years ago, but luckily for us, he does not remember which book. Ochako would say, "What? Does something like that exist?" Yuki would say, "I don't know. But what I do know is that I won't allow him to go down that path." Ochako determined, "And neither will I. I should have been here to knock some sense into him, thinking the things that she has to do and mentally preparing for them." And then she'll say, "I guess there's no other way." Yuki, a bit confused, she would say, "What are you planning on doing?" Ochako simply replied with, "A friend's gotta do what a friend's gotta do. Now I'll make sure that he'll recover in no time." Yuki, concerned, "Miss, it has been a month and a half since you were last here. What would you do to help him?" Ochako, smirking and smiling at Yuki, she would say, "Just leave it to me. But first," as she blushes, "I guess I have to wash him." Yuki's inner monologue, and rolling her eyes. "Now I see what she's up to. Oh well, I guess." Time skip to a few weeks ahead. In only a few weeks, Ochako managed to bring Izuku back to somewhat to his usual self, although he's still depressed. And not only that, she also managed to light the metaphorical fire under his ass, which actually motivated him to train as he never trained before. Ochako visited as usual. As she saw Izuku, she was training like a maniac. But at least he wasn't moving around or locked inside his room. Ochako would say, "Hey Izu, how's it going? I see that you started training again." Izuku, somewhat to his usual self, but had an emotionless face, he would say, "Meh. Same as yesterday, I suppose. And before I forget, I must thank you, Ochako. If it weren't for you, I would have still been in my room. And thanks to you, I now know what I must do, and my reason of being a hero." Ochako, blushing and acting a bit shy, she would say, "No need to thank me. I did what any good friend would do. I'm sure that you and I had the roles reversed, you would have done the same for me." Izuku, rolling his eyes, "Except one thing. Your parents wouldn't have killed me if I decided to give you a bath." Ochako, blushing and being very nervous, she'll start stuttering and saying, Stop that! It was only one-time thing, and you know it." Izuku, giving her the look, he would say, "That didn't stop you though, now did it?" Ochako, embarrassed, she would say, "Izu, stop that! I was washing you because you smelled like a filthy dog." She puts her hand up to cover her face, and she sounded a bit muffled while saying, "I never expected it to be that big," as she was having naughty thoughts. Izuku, annoyed, he would say, "Okay, you can stop that. Keep your fantasies to yourself. I want no part in them." Ochako had a defeated look on her face. Izuku would say, So, did you come here for something or just here for pleasantries? Ochako, snapping back to reality, she would say, "Oh yeah, both actually. The teacher told me to give you the notes from today, and she hopes that she'll see you soon in class." Which brings up the question, when are you returning to school? Izuku, facing away from her, he would say, "I'm not." Ochako, shocked, she would say, What do you mean by that?" Izuku will contemplate while saying, "That I'm not returning to school." Ochako, whining, she would say, "But why? I don't understand." Izuku, annoyed, he would say, "I have to get away from here. This town, our school, this place, and even that sakura tree over there. Had so many memories with her." Ochako was shocked, and she said, "So what you're saying is..." Izuku, interrupting her, she would say, "Yes, I'll be leaving on a trip, and probably move to a different part of Japan. According to some staff members, the Matos have an inn that's a sister branch to this one, and it was also owned by us. And it's near the ocean, so I'll be staying there." Ochako, tearing up, But when will you be coming back?" Izuku, looking down, he would say, "It could be months, or it could be years, if at all." Ochako, crying, "What about me? Aren't you going to come back here? Not even for my sake?" Izuku, having his head still down, he would say, "Ochako, listen. I may have loved her more than you, but it doesn't mean that I don't care for you." Ochako, with a bit of hope, she would say, "Then you'll..." Izuku, interrupting her, he would say, "That said, I always considered you a sister, and you mean a lot to me. And if by any chance something were to happen to you, and I could have prevented it, I'll just lose my mind. I won't be able to handle any more losses. I lost too much already." Ochako, saying, "But Izuku, there's no need. We can do this together and..." Izuku, turning angry towards her, as his tears fell from his eyes. "No, you don't get it. You don't get it, Ochako. I don't think I've told you, but the reason of us being attacked that day was because of the item Grams left in my possession." Ochako, confused, she would say, I'm confused now." Izuku, "You know that card Grams left me?" Ochako nodded. Izuku continued, "Well, it wasn't a useless thing after all. According to what I know, as he explains everything that about the Archer class cards and the other class cards, on what each card does individually and what he and Ayumi were actually going to do with the card, and that the ones that attacked them were Megas assassins, as he will continue, and that's why they were after us." Ochako, shocked, she would say, "Oh my god. So that means..." Izuku, saying, "Even if I wanted to tell that wannabe hero, he would have been killed if I told him. Common folk can't get involved with mega stuff. Grams told me that it's been like that for ages." Ochako, admitting defeat, "I see. Then I'll come with you." Izuku scoffed at the idea. No. My trip is for me alone, and I will not allow you to follow me. Ochako, shocked, would say, but why? Izuku saying, unless you want to give up on your goal to become a hero, you'll stay here, because the path I'm taking, there's no going back. Ochako, a bit scared, she would say, what do you mean by that? What path? Izuku saying, the path of revenge. Omega's assassins took Ayumi away from me. So now, I'll hunt them down and take their life away from them. Ochako saying, no, Izuku, as she tears up. No, that's not how you're supposed to do things. Izuku, annoyed, he would say, don't worry, I'm doing this under the Mega Association, so it's considered legal, and I get paid for it. Ochako, questioning Izuku's logic, she would say, legal? Do you even know what you're saying? You're going to kill people just to get paid? Doesn't that make you just like them? Izuku, snapping at her, he would say, no, it doesn't. If these magi went rogue, and they're committing crimes as villains, and heroes don't do shit, the Mega Association recruits magi that are willing to do what's right. Besides, it just so happens that I have a bone to pick with these bastards. So I'll be killing two birds with one stone. Ochako saying, even if you say that, wouldn't that make you a vigilante? Or Izuku will interrupt her by saying, if that's the price for vengeance, peace of mind, and a safer place, so be it. Ochako, trying to convince Izuku, she would say, don't go, Izuku. I won't allow you to ruin your life. What would Ayumi say if she was here, huh? Izuku, a bit irritated, he would say, I can't speak for the dead. Besides, I wasn't asking for your permission. I was just telling you what I'll be doing, so you don't start putting missing posters all over the place. Ochako, with tears in her eyes, she would say, is there any way I'll change your mind? Izuku simply answered, no. Ochako, admitting defeat, she would say, then promise me one thing. Izuku raised an eyebrow. Promise me. Promise me that we'll meet at UA. Izuku, annoyed, he'll say, I'll pass. Ochako, shocked, she would say, what? What happened? All three of us promised to go there together after middle school. Are you going to break every promise now? Izuku, sighing heavily, he would say, fine, fine, fine. You win. Now stop it with those low blows because they feel like you're kicking me in the balls. Ochako, feeling proud of herself, good. It should teach you to think before you talk. Anyways, when are you leaving? Izuku, being as blunt as he can, he would say, tonight. Ochako, shocked, she would say, and you're just telling me? Izuku, sighing, I knew that you were coming, so yeah. Plus, knowing you wanted me to come over your place to have dinner, and afterwards I won't be able to leave, so yeah. Ochako, sighing, yeah, I guess I would have done something like that. After some time chatting, Ochako left Izuku, reminding him about their promise to meet at UA. Then Izuku got his stuff. Before he left, he went into Ayumi's bedroom. He looked around as memories started to fill his mind. Before tears could swell in his eyes, he snapped out of it. As he was leaving the room, he saw a bracelet that used to belong to her. He walked to it and he grabbed it. He wore it on his wrist, and then he left the Mato household, thus starting his trip. To be continued. Alright, and that'll be it for today. And I hope you guys enjoyed. Leave a like, comment down below, and see you in the next video. Bye.